Hello and welcome to Anime with me, Asteroidia, and as always, my lovely co-host, the skull we don't talk about. I'm here today to watch episode 2 of The Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady, which is a hell of a title, and I've just realised in uploading the previous episode of this that it does not fit in a... Well, it fits in a YouTube title, but you can only fit it in a YouTube title. You can't fit anything else, so that was annoying. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a weird one timing-wise because I am, as I record this, uploading the previous episode of this to YouTube. I'm kind of rushing to try and catch up with this season because I started a little later than I wanted to with this project, to try and watch most of the seasonals, all of the interesting-looking seasonals on YouTube in these reactions, and I started a little late, so I had some catching up to do, and I probably could have organised it a little better and done this series first, because I probably could have left like things like Trigun and Nier, they could have left them a little bit later in the week and I would have had time to space them out a bit. So this is going to go up on the same day as episode 1. So hopefully you watched episode 1 if you're watching this, because there's probably not a huge amount of point if you didn't. But episode 1 I thought was great. It was really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed the political intrigue they've got going with the way the prince has betrayed our genius. Euphilia has betrayed her, broken off the engagement to get engaged with Lainey instead. And Anisphia, whose name I'm still just going to call her Annie. Annie has swooped in or crashed in through a window after the broken engagement to carry off Euphilia. Yeah, it was interesting actually going back through that for the edit to get all the images I was talking about, the clips I was talking about at the end, because I found loads more things that make that very, very explicit in a way that I had kind of forgotten by the end of the episode when I was talking about it, like the one that I kept bringing up in the editing. The literal explosion of rainbows in the flashback when they were kids, when they met. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a thing. That's not very subtle, is it? not that I mind. That's great. I love that it's not subtle. And then obviously what I did talk about, carrying her over the shoulder, the kind of bridal thing out of the room. And that line at the end, she's going to ask if she can keep her. It's like, wow, okay, cool. We are going full Yuri on this one, and I'm very here for it. My thoughts at the end were, I wonder if they're going to try and walk that back a bit in this episode, because they could. There's a number of ways they could reinterpret that as a misunderstanding, although, again, having looked at it in the edit, I don't think they're going to do that somehow. I think they're going to stick to their guns here. So fingers crossed. I hope so. But I do think I'm right there. And I wonder how deep the political intrigue is going to go. I wonder what the show is going to be about, because I don't know. Like, I don't know whether it's going to now be a slice of life with these two. Is it going to be a romance? Is it going to be more of a political intrigue thing where we're working against the prince, or the prince is working against us? I don't know. I'm excited to find out. So, without further ado, I think we're going to go for it. You'll notice I'm wearing a white turtleneck today. I am kind of hoping it's not blowing out my lighting too badly. Yeah, that's probably a little bit better. Turn the light down a bit, because I think the extra reflection. Yeah, that may have been a little unwise, but we're too deep into this to change shirts now, so it's fine. Yeah, so slight aside. As always, it's going to be a timer-based reaction, so you do need your own copy to follow it along. I will give you a 3, 2, 1 countdown. There will be a sliver of the show on the bottom to help you keep the sync, and a timer to do the same. So, I'm going to make sure I've got this ready on my end. Yep. And then we're going to go. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Excited about this. Okay, that's her father. So I assume this is the same night of the party. So who are you? So I think the prince has a son with white hair, who I assume is the prime minister's son. Anisfia. How did she invent a magical kettle? Oh, he's Euphilia's father. Okay. Okay. Cool. So the prince breaking off the relationship, yeah, that's going to cause some problems. Hmm. So are we after the broken engagement, or? Hmm. It's a lot of pressure to put on her. Nope, it's the same night. They haven't heard yet. I love her. Oh no. Prime Minister's vibing with it though. And we've got the OP. We didn't see the OP last time. No, we didn't. Let's see what we've got. Oh, that was nice. Song's pretty standard stuff, really. Not anyone I particularly recognise, although I'm not hugely up on that. Who is that? Oh, that was Lainey. Maybe going to get some actual character drama out of this. The kind of goth alchemist character who I liked there. Okay, that's yeah, I like this. That's cool. Them back as kids, looking at them as teenagers up in the broom. Pretty romantic OP, I gotta say. Um, the king's gonna be pissed when he finds out what happened. Yep. Oh. Oh no. I like the king. We didn't see much of this last time, but he's great as well. And he clearly takes after him as well, which is great with kind of over dramatic reactions. Yeah, this is going to be a political disaster. What were you thinking? That's an interesting reaction. What about that means? Is he going to blame her? His reaction is very odd as well. The prime minister. Ugh. Although he seemed shocked by that. That was a strange interaction. I wonder who the mother is in that situation. Is she... So how... In what way does she mean that? Yeah, but what do you mean? Okay, okay, okay. Okay. But then, yeah. Yeah, the heart's in the eye. Okay, okay, okay. We're being very explicit about this. I'm fine with this. This is great. Mm-hmm. Adjust my chair a little bit. That's better. Hmm. Where are we going with this? Sorry, I have to do some more adjustments. There we go. Oh, she's a fighter as well. This is great. Yeah, I was kind of wondering, how is this actually going to solve the... How do you judge this is going to solve the problem? Hmm. So does Ophelia going to be the front? You're not really giving her much of a choice here, but I guess maybe she doesn't have much of a choice under the circumstances. I kind of thought she was just going to explicitly suggest that they get married instead. I think we may yet get to that point. I don't think she minds somehow. For magicology, right? Okay. I don't think so. Okay. She's not entirely into this. Bye, subtext. Look, hey, look, it's subtext. It's gone. That's a fair point, I suppose. The Prime Minister's got some kind of thought. Hmm. What a strange relationship. Yeah, but why are you afraid of him? Is she just that insecure about her, kind of, what's happened to her? Maybe. It's interesting he's out of shot in that. Wholesome headbats. Maybe not say that while the king is in the room, but yeah, go. Aw. Still not totally sure I understand that dynamic between those two. Well, maybe we're about to hear more about it. I assume we're going with the plan. Yeah. He's into it too. He ships it. He ships it. So would that work? Is that allowed? I don't know. It seems like she might have a lot of good ideas. She might occasionally blow things up, but we all love hot drinks. Showing off to her new girlfriend. Maybe give her a minute to recover from her traumatic evening, but you know. Ah, Yuffie, that was what I was calling her in the first episode. Yeah, the maids know there's no stopping her. Okay. I said last episode we didn't quite have the princess carry. We had it now. Okay, that is pretty cool, actually. Yeah, 'cause she's got no magical abilities. Hmm. So I guess that's what OP. Cheeto. Savage. Savage. Ah, okay. Yeah, she's got nothing. So she's not a fan of the aristocracy either. But then that was kind of Al's problem. So with her, I mean, like his problem with her too. What's it going to be? I've already seen the hairdryer, but is she going to get? She's probably going to get dragged off by the maid. No, okay. Okay. Is she going to insist they share a room and a bed? That kind of makes it sound like you will. I feel like you're just making her uncomfortable here. Magicology and myself. Now that sounds a bit more positive. Ooh, good question. Bit of envy there. Maybe not envy, but that was a nice shot with the eyes closing and then into the dark. Such Chad lines. This is where the rainbow explosion was. I didn't quite cut to that. Lewd. Let's look at this filth. Is that it? Really? Oh, Jesus, right. That was the entire episode. Wow, that went by like a shot. I thought that was a mid card. Like, I thought that was an ad break card. Oh, we haven't seen the ED either, actually. This is new too. This kind of blown out pastel thing is nice. Kind of alt colors. Almost photo negative, kind of, yeah. Reminds me a bit of some Shaft OPs, actually, the animation in this. Wasn't one of the Maria Holic OPs or EDs? I think it was a bit like this. Maybe. I might be misremembering that. Under a cherry blossom tree. And that's it. I'm looking at the end card, right? Episode 3 is called The Rainbow Magic Sword of Longing and Reminiscence. It's like, yeah, okay. Wow, okay. Okay, okay. Cool. I need to get this off the screen, actually. It's putting too much. I don't think I can wear this specific turtleneck again. I think I need to wear the darker ones, otherwise it's just going to cause problems with the lighting. Yeah, okay. So let's get this back up here so I can look through the episode a little bit, but so towards the end of the discussion for last episode, and I think I mentioned it at the start of this one, I was like, so the Yuri vibes became, so this is me last episode, the Yuri vibes became pretty explicit towards the end there. You know, they could walk it back in the next episode, though. I could see them walking it back. You know, I could see them, pulling it back. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to ask my father if I can have you, and it'll be like as a lab assistant, and then they'll kind of pull that back, and then it'll be a very gradual thing, or it'll stay at some kind of subtextual baseline, and then we'll run with that. And no, okay, that's not what we're doing. That's not what this is. This is full Yuri. We are just going like full Yuri romance here. That is what this is. 100%, absolutely no subtext. There is no subtext in this episode. There is only text. No, that's not entirely true. Not for everything, but for the romantic angle, it's like, whoa, okay, that's Yeah. Uh, yeah. Okay. Um, there's not as much to talk about in this episode in general, though, because yeah, this episode flew by, but it flew by in a way that it was a little bit weirdly paced because there are only like 2 scenes, really. There's the scene in there. No, there's 3 technically, because half of the episode is just them in that room. Okay, there are a little bit more than 3, but there aren't many locations because you've got the king and the prime minister in the kind of meeting room, we'll call it. They get joined by the girls. The king and the prime minister go out to the balcony after everyone splits up for a very short conversation. And then Yuffie and Annie sort of move across, I think, 3 locations. I think they're still in the sitting room. They have tea. They go down to the workshop, and then they move into the bedroom, and that's it. That's the entire episode. Is just that. With the only time we kind of cut away and then back is the conversation in the balcony between the king and the prime minister, and then we cut back to the girls after that. It's only kind of, it's almost one long continuous thing. So no wonder it flew by. Actually, that's when it's structured like that. I almost want to I almost want to complain about that because it's like not an awful lot happened in this episode. But that's sometimes fine. I mean, it kind of depends how the rest of the show is structured. And of course, we're adapting source material, right? So you got to have a beginning, a middle, and an end of each 25-minute episode, you know? So sometimes you're going to have episodes where that's a little bit awkward and you have to stretch stuff in order to have everything fit into an episode by episode thing. You know, you can't get halfway through. You can't complete one section and then get halfway through another one and then end the episode. Well, you can, but it doesn't work very well. So I think that's maybe what has happened here. I think we maybe had a slight stretching of material in order to fit the structure of the core, the season, rather than the structure of this, rather than maximizing the value in the structure of the specific set of scenes. So that, yeah, fair enough. Maybe was a little bit dragged out in some places, but that's fine. It was still really some really great interactions here. The Prime Minister is an interesting character, as is the King. The King is cool. So the King links kind of into something that I was talking about I almost want to say last week, but it wasn't last week. It was yesterday, and the video went up earlier today. It kind of links into something I said last episode about the type of isekai this is, where it's not that someone from another world took over the body of a child or a baby in this world, or was reborn complete into this world. It was a download of memories once she was already a child. So that's good because it means that there's personality traits that are shared with the king between Annie and the king, which is nice. That's cool. It means Annie seems like less of an alien who's just kind of landed in this world where she doesn't fit. She actually has quite a lot in common with her father because they're both kind of weird and energetic and kind of have the comic relief moments shared between them. That's a really nice touch. I really like that. And it's one of the reasons I kind of like this style of isekai. Aside from anything else, it circumvents a lot of kind of weird, awkward stuff about like, well, what happened to the original child? You know, are they dead? Did they just die when someone from another universe got downloaded into their brain? Are they gone now? You know, whereas you get the sense in this that I mean, they may clarify this later, but you get the sense that Annie had a load of knowledge downloaded, but that's living alongside a personality that was already fairly well established by the time she was the age where that happened. And this is supported by how much she has in common with her father. Yeah, so I like that. That's maybe one of my preferred forms of isekai. I think I don't like the reincarnated as a baby ones because there's too much weird implications to those. I quite like the quite old school ones where you just fall through a portal and you're bodily transported to another place. You don't quite see so many of them these days, but for some reason the baby thing got way more popular. I blame Mushoku Tensei. I blame Mushoku Tensei for so many things. No, I quite like Mushoku Tensei. I have some problems. And let's not even go into that. Anyway, we're talking about this. So yeah, the king was an interesting, was a cool character, funny character. I liked him a lot. A lot of really good expressions from the king that matched his daughter. And again, I like how that gels with each character and how that kind of ties our main character Annie to this world a bit better than in a normal isekai scenario. But yeah, so she gives the breakdown of what happened, and we have the interactions between Yuffie and the Prime Minister are interesting and strange. I don't know. It's one of these things where I have to kind of wait for more information on one sense before I say anything, because I have a feeling after that scene that maybe it's a little weirdly written and a little weirdly directed rather than intentional, is the feeling I get, because the way I interpreted this initially is that Yuffie was afraid of him. And given the way that scene ended, I don't think that was intentional. Which kind of implies that something is off about that slightly. And now, I don't know. There are a couple of possibilities. The first one is that there's just more to this, more to their relationship that I don't understand yet, that will get explained later, which, fair enough. Although the resolution at the end makes that kind of strange, because it seemed like they had started some kind of reconciliation. The other possibility I can think of is who's her mother? Who's the Prime Minister's wife? Where is she and what's she like? Is she maybe the one that Yuffie is afraid of failing in front of? Because because like the Prime Minister goes for the head pat initially, right? I'll pull this up. The Prime Minister goes for the head pat, and she recoils back as though he's about to punch her in the face, and you're like, why do you think that's a possibility? Where did that come from? Because that reads very clearly to me as being like, oh, he's been abusing her, you know, or she is used to being abused by someone in a position of authority. But again, I have my suspicions that is maybe not actually what they're intending there, and maybe it is just meant to be a depiction of her kind of generalized fear of failure or disappointing her father, or disappointing or failing to live up to her station. I think that might be what they were going for, and I think they maybe just missed the mark slightly there, and maybe just tweaked the drama up a little bit higher than it should have been, which made me assume things that it wasn't really intending on me assuming. We'll see. Like I said, I want to see what happened to the mother there if we find that out, because maybe that would explain that would explain a lot if that was the case. She had a really horrible mother. And I mean, the Prime Minister's character is cool, because it's cool. He is cool. He's very calm and collected, and doesn't react much, even when he finds that the engagement's been annulled, and his path to the throne through his descendants is now at least for the moment it's gone. until he thinks of something else later, but we'll get to that. Yeah, that's... But then we had the reconciliation later. Unless he was faking it. Somehow he's behind this breaking down for some reason. I don't know. I think I'm gonna put a pin in that for the moment. We're gonna leave it. Because I feel like we might get answers for that down the line. Or maybe even in the next episode, or at least in future episodes. I'm not sure. I think any kind of further speculation might risk going off in a wildly weird tangent, which is nothing to do with what actually ends up happening. I don't mind making predictions, but actually in general, in reaction videos, it's always like there comes a point where like you're trying to make extrapolations on extrapolations and predict things, and you're just sitting there watching the reaction going like, really? You actually think that's going to happen? You're relying on like 5 different deductions that you've made. You're not, it's okay to predict things based on something that happens in the episode, but predicting something based on something you've predicted, based on something you've predicted, based on something you've predicted is getting a bit ridiculous. So I'm going to leave that for now. We'll see if we get more about the Prime Minister, his relationship with potentially his wife, and his relationship with his daughter further down the line, and what that might have to do with the kind of overall conspiracy. Just one final thing, the king as well. I noticed there was something I noticed in editing the last episode that I don't think I brought up in the discussion, although I think I mentioned it while the episode was on, but the king seems to be sick in some way, because he was taking... It didn't come up this episode, which is kind of why I bring it up, because it didn't come up. But I had got the impression the king was sick, because he was taking some kind of pill at the first section of the first episode, and there was mention when Annie was talking to her goth friend, she was talking about medicines, which I thought was probably in reference to the king, and perhaps whatever illness he may or may not have, but there was no sign of that in this, which that's interesting. Maybe I was just wrong in that first one, or maybe this will come up later. But yeah, so king, prime minister. I guess we should talk about their conversation a bit, since we're talking about them, although there wasn't really that much. Yeah, no, there wasn't really that much there. So let's get into the heart of this episode in every sense. Yeah, I mean, so much for subtext. This is just this is really interesting. I'm trying to think of other shows that are this explicit about this specifically. So we have the scene where the Prime Minister reminds the king of something that Annie said to him when she was young. So I'll have this scene up, and she goes, "Father," and he asks what it is, and she says, "I don't want to marry a man. If I fall in love, I want it to be with a woman." Okay. So as a kid, she comes to her dad and basically says she's gay. That's interesting. Unusual for anime. Very unusual. I mean, okay. With these things in anime, there's almost always some level of plausible deniability. So, strictly speaking, in the absolute literal sense, that is not actually what she says. She comes in as a child, and it's sort of treated like a joke, but in the context of where it's brought up in the episode, it's also not, because that is what he's saying. And all you really want is to make you feel it your own, yeah. And then you feel it backs away, yeah. Yeah, that's I mean, yeah. There's a sort of there's a veneer of plausible deniability on that, but it is pretty explicit, and that's unusual. That's very unusual to have that kind of level of representation. And it depends. It kind of depends. I think I brought this up at the beginning of this discussion as well. It kind of depends what this show is going to be as well, and I still don't know. It's still not clear. I'm thinking it must be a romance, because that was all this episode was about, more or less. There was some political stuff with the succession discussions, but most of this was about setting up this relationship and about what this relationship is going to look like going forward. And it walks it forward a bit, walks it back, walks it forward a bit, and it's like Annie basically announces that she is gay, and then that pushes Euphilia away a little bit, and she kind of walks it back a little bit, and that's not what she wants out of this. Oh, right, okay, so she actually... Oh, okay, so I actually missed that line. Yeah, but that's not. I think that comes off as a really lame excuse, because she says basically says that she said she didn't want to marry a man because she doesn't want to accidentally get pregnant. But like the face she's making at the time, that's clearly not the reason. Then there's like the comedy bit with the dad, and yeah, how dare you speak of such an important royal duty in that way? Okay, yeah, I think I did miss that. I was maybe writing down a name or something at the time, but. Huh. Ah, okay. It's an insight into the Prime Minister as well, because after that interaction, it keeps cutting back to the Prime Minister kind of watching this, and it almost seems like he's a very kind of poker-faced kind of character without a lot of expression, but you kind of wonder if there are wheels turning there, because he brings this up later as the possibility for a second avenue to the throne through Euphilia, potentially marrying Annie, if that works. I mean, there's not... no one reacts particularly negatively to the suggestion that Annie might be interested in women. No one seems to just throw that out as being, well, obviously that's ridiculous. You can't do that in this society. No one actually says that at any point. So that maybe comes with an implication that maybe that's fine. There's a suggestion that there is the royal duty to have children and pass down your have heirs rather. So there's that, and that would be a problem, obviously, if you have a queen and another queen who can't have any heirs. That is actually a major problem in a feudal society. But no one suggested it's it's in any way sinful or socially not permitted, Interesting. So that might be a serious that might be a serious suggestion, because he suggests that basically. He doesn't quite say it, but he suggests that when they're having their talk out in the balcony. Again, no. There may be meaning in giving Euphilia to Princess Sophia. There's the reaction from the king, where he's like, what are you talking about? And it might be another way to the throne. And then there's the cute scenes where Annie takes her through all the inventions and shows her, the kind of work she's been doing, and tries to get her to praise her, and so on and so forth. Yeah, we have that whole thing, and it's just nice, kind of fluffy stuff. More explanation of her not being able to use magic at all, which does seem to be directly connected to the ability. I still wonder if they're going to bring that up in relation to her, to Annie's parentage, because obviously we know that is almost certainly something to do with her being an isekai protagonist, right? That she has no magic because she's not, something about her spirit or soul isn't native to this world, you would assume. But in universe, from the perspective of everyone else, you would assume that would call into question her her mother and like what her parentage is. Wouldn't people be asking questions about that if this? Because Annie mentions it as being genetic at some point in relation to having children. It's like, well, there would be when the king's saying, well, you have to have children at some point. How would you talk so horribly about your royal duty of having children? And then she says, well, what would be the point of me having children? Because they wouldn't have magic either, because it's genetic. Now, whether she means that entirely literally or if she knows that or not, I don't know. But if it is genetic, then again, surely people would be asking questions as to exactly why she has no magical ability. You know, it's like, where did that come from? Is she actually the king's daughter? Maybe that'll come up later, especially if putting Annie back into the line of succession comes up down the line, because that, who knows? No Al in this episode, which is a shame, because I kind of wanted to see more of his side of things and what the fallout of the cancelled engagement was from his perspective, and what the hell Lainey's deal is. But that's fine. I guess this was all a bit fallout from this side of things. Maybe the next episode will have more of that in it, and that's fine. We'll wait and see. Yeah, and then we've got the whole last section of it. I don't know. There was some really nice stuff at the very end when they were in the bed, and the kind of conversation they had there, and the incredibly lewd hand holding and the hug at the end. That was nice. That was cute. Some of the stuff at the start of the scene where they were in the bedroom was just a little bit like, ooh, really? It's kind of sketchy, Annie. You sure you want to be quite this forward? It doesn't really seem like Euphilia into that. At least not this early, and not on this all happening over the course of one night. It's like she kind of traps her in this situation where it's like, oh, we're sharing a room in this mansion that very obviously has lots of other rooms available. You know, you're like, okay. Or like you're looking at this and you're like, if Annie was a male character, this would be really creepy. Like by anime standards, I feel like this would be kind of weird. Is this okay just because they're it's a Yuri thing? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to harp on too much about it because I don't think the show is making really a comment about that as such. I think it's maybe just being kind of blasé about the whole thing and more playing it for laughs, especially the image of Annie on the bed. I'll find it in the edit, but the image of Annie on the bed in the kind of paint me like one of your French girls pose was quite funny, admittedly. And like I said, the bit after that was quite sweet. I kind of wish that sequence of events had taken place over a slightly longer length of time. I think that I would have felt a little bit better about it there. And we had a nice ED. That end interaction with the hug, that was cute. And then the ED, which again reminds me a lot of something. I don't know, it's the geometric shapes in the background, I think. Like pastel colours, white background, kind of floating geometric shapes. I'm sure it's a Shaft OP or ED. I was thinking Maria Holic, but maybe it's something else. I know I've seen an ED that looks like so much like this. I don't know. If I can remember it in edit, or I'll look it around, I'll put it there. So either that'll be the name of a show, or it'll be just a note saying, no, I still have no idea, but that is for future viewers and future me to know. And then we had the end card, which I mentioned at the start. What's the name of the next episode? Because again, it was something very Yuri. The rainbow magic sword. There we go. I wonder if that's Yuffie's sword from the OP, because it kind of looked like we had the two swords. We had Annie's lightsaber and then a kind of rapier thing. There was some suggestion of action in the OP as well, which we'll have to keep an eye out there. I mean, again, it kind of goes back to the the point that I still don't really know what the show is and what the content of the rest of the 10 episodes is going to be exactly, whether we are going to get some action or whether it's going to be... Because actually, yeah, that is one thing I completely forgot about to really talk about, because I was so blindsided by the ending of episode 1 that I didn't really talk about it afterwards. But the fight animation at the start of episode 1 of this show was actually pretty good. It's pretty slick stuff when she was just dicing the wolves up. Nothing like hugely amazing or anything, but like... Oh, there we go. Nothing like amazing, but it was pretty good. So I mean, this show has the potential to pull out some pretty entertaining action if it wants to, or it might just be another 10 episodes of fluff from here on in as they work on magical gadgets together. It could be political drama. They didn't really push that as much in this episode as maybe I thought they might, because the Prime Minister just didn't seem really very phased by the kind of shenanigans that were going on. But again, maybe we'll probably get more of that down the line, because there definitely was some kind of conspiracy against Euphilia in terms of the lies that were spread about her and her supposed campaign against Lainey, which was not actually a thing. So we've got stuff to explore there. Well, I think we'll leave it there. I said there wasn't as much to talk about, but I still managed to go for over almost an hour. At least this one will come on in under 1 hour. But yeah, interesting. I probably didn't like that episode quite as much as episode 1, but then it was quite transitional. So I think there's going to be... I think this will make more sense in context once we've got even just episode 3 in. So I'm looking forward to seeing more. And there was some really cute stuff in this. And I'm all for the Yuri being right up and out there and it being like, it is a romantic show with 2 female leads. Cool. Yeah. And explicitly that as well, in a way that's very unusual in anime. Like that a lot. That's cool. Yeah. I think we're done. Right, as I said in, I think, just the last video, which again will have gone up immediately before this, so I won't belabor the point, but if you would like to see more, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell so that you actually see the stuff that you're subscribed to, because I know what YouTube's like. Yeah, I will see you for the next episode. I've been Asteroidia. This has been The Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady. Love those light novel titles. We'll see you later on.